The chandeliers of the Valmont estate shone like captured starlight, their golden flames dancing across polished marble floors. Tonight, the world of nobility would gather in this very hall for the annual Valmont Ball, an event whispered about across the kingdom. Every cushion, every curtain, every candle was arranged with military precision, for Lord Henry Valmont tolerated no imperfection. Among the servants rushing back and forth, one figure moved with unusual calm. Isabella. Her black maid's uniform clung to her slender frame, and her hands were roughened by years of scrubbing and polishing. Yet her movements carried an elegance unbefitting a servant, the kind of grace that belonged to someone who knew rhythm, who understood music without needing to hear a single note. She worked quietly, head bowed, unnoticed. But fate rarely respects invisibility. As Isabella dusted the edge of a massive gilded mirror, her ears caught the booming voice of Lord Valmont. He stood at the center of the grand hall, surrounded by aristocrats and noblewomen fluttering their fans like restless birds. His son, Damien, towered beside him, his sharp jawline set in defiance. "You dance the waltz," Lord Valmont declared, his tone slicing through the chatter, "and you will marry my son." Gasps erupted. Fans snapped shut. Whispers spread like wildfire. To turn a dance into a marriage contract, it was outrageous even for Lord Valmont. Damien's face tightened. He bowed his head slightly, but his eyes betrayed his thoughts, rebellion. He loathed being treated like a trophy, auctioned off to whichever lady pleased his father. He wanted love, not duty. Isabella froze where she stood. The rag in her hand slipped, landing soundlessly on the polished floor. A marriage decided by a dance. The idea was absurd, and yet, a forgotten ember inside her chest flickered to life. She remembered her mother's voice, gentle, lilting, always filled with music. "Every step in the waltz is a heartbeat, Isabella. When you dance, don't count the steps. Feel them. Let the world vanish, until only the music remains." Her mother had once been a celebrated dancer, before tragedy and poverty reduced them to nothing. Isabella had not danced in years. The world of chandeliers and gowns belonged to others now. To dream was dangerous. To hope was painful. And yet. Damien clenched his fists as noblewomen began to giggle and flutter toward him, whispering about who would claim the honor of being his bride. Lady Catherine, the most ambitious of them all, smirked confidently. Her crimson gown sparkled with gemstones, her eyes sharp as daggers. She would not let any opportunity slip from her perfectly manicured hands. As servants cleared space for dance rehearsals, Isabella quietly gathered discarded ribbons and cloth. But destiny has a cruel sense of humor. One of the noblewomen, a blonde beauty practicing steps, suddenly cried out. She had twisted her ankle, stumbling to the ground. Gasps filled the air. A nobleman rushed to help her, but her foot swelled quickly. She would not be able to dance. Panic rippled through the room. Without enough partners, the balance of the waltz would be ruined. Catherine sneered, her eyes darting toward Isabella, who was nearby. "Why not let the maid fill in?" she said, her voice dripping with mockery. "After all, even rats can scurry in circles. Surely she can move her feet." Laughter exploded among the guests. Isabella's cheeks burned crimson. She tried to retreat, but another servant pushed her forward nervously. Lord Valmont raised an eyebrow, curious. Damien's gaze locked onto Isabella for the first time. Her eyes, wide, frightened, yet filled with something deeper, made his breath catch. "You will dance," Lord Valmont commanded. The hall erupted in jeers. A maid? Dancing in the waltz of nobles? It was unthinkable. Catherine smirked wickedly, certain Isabella would stumble and humiliate herself. Isabella's heart pounded. Her hands trembled. Every fiber of her being screamed to run. But then, she lifted her chin. Her mother's words echoed again. Every step is a heartbeat. The violins struck their first note. The world fell silent. Damien extended his hand, uncertain but strangely drawn to her. Isabella placed her trembling fingers into his. As they stepped onto the marble floor, time itself seemed to pause. And then, she danced. Not as a maid. Not as a servant. But as if the universe itself had been waiting for this very moment. Her feet glided effortlessly, her body flowing like water, each turn and spin painting poetry in motion. The crowd, ready to laugh, instead fell into stunned silence. Gasps replaced mockery. Eyes widened. Damien felt it too. The maid in his arms moved like a queen. Every step carried power, every glance told a story. For the first time in years, he forgot the suffocating weight of duty. He forgot the eyes of his father. All he knew was her. Isabella's mind emptied of fear. She was no longer polishing silver or scrubbing floors. She was flying. Every step was her mother's heartbeat, every movement a memory brought to life. When the final note of the violin faded, the ballroom stood frozen. The chandeliers seemed dim compared to the radiance that had filled the floor. Isabella, breathless, lowered her eyes, realizing what she had done.